but we're not saving enough to do the things I want to do. We're not saving enough away for retirement and not saving enough to invest. And so like I've been going to town on my expenses and also increasing our income some and just rearranging stuff to free up money for investing. So it's pretty cool. Anybody else wins or anything you want to share along those lines? Anybody else have anything that's changed since we've been working together as far as like your income, your expenses, the way you're thinking about your money? Am I the only one?
Well, I think the timing is quite good to look at those expenses again. This is Camilla. Hi, everyone. Just things are a little cuckoo out there right now. So the more you can keep in your pocket, the better. And interest rates are going up. So I think it's always good to just tighten up the belt beginning of the year. The more you can do that, get rid of the wasteful spending, the better.
I so agree. Couldn't agree more. Good stuff. Okay, so today we're going to go through the book from pages like 194 through 210, as I mentioned in the Facebook group. We'll talk about this in a second. And just so you guys know, and then after that, we're going to go through Miguel's property analysis, which I hadn't even looked at. So it'll be fun to see this cold turkey and just see what we got, what Miguel came up with. And we got Miguel here to talk about it and talk us through it. So let me just kind of give you some of the bullet points from the reading, and then I'll, let's open up for ahas and stuff. Here are some things that I took from it. So, we're talking about how are you going to find the investment property, right? And question number 3 is, how will I find the property or the people connected to it? And it's interesting because he talks about prospecting and marketing, which I thought was fascinating because, we talk about that as real estate agents looking for, and by the way, they can overlap. You can look for people looking to sell their property. And if you don't want to invest in it, you can list it as on the market, so they can overlap. But anyways, let me read this little there's a couple little sections I want to read out. This is from 196. He says, it's important to remember that 2 fundamental forces, economic and personal, are constantly at work creating great real estate investment opportunities. Economic forces tend to affect the market as a whole. These forces include factors such as changing interest rates, job growth or recession, overbuilding or undersupply, and area revitalization. Personal forces are very specific to the owner and the property the owner represents. Personal forces, both positive and negative, include relocations, marriage, divorce, bankruptcy, good fortune, and even death or family growth. Millionaire real estate investors never focus on only one, but instead lead generate for both properties that meet their criteria and sellers who are motivated to sell. Here's how this plays out with your prospecting and marketing. With prospecting, you tend to be referred or find properties that match your criteria. The next step is to locate the seller and see if he or she is motivated to sell at your terms. Marketing tends to work in the opposite direction. It tends to attract motivated sellers. The next necessary step for the investor is to inspect the seller's property to see if it matches his or her criteria. It may sound oversimplified, but you generally will be prospecting for properties and marketing for motivated sellers. I will tell you, I've invested in several properties. I've bought, homes on the courthouse steps, foreclosures and that kind of stuff. And I have never prospected for directly or marketed for investment properties. And I was just kind of curious. I mean, it's funny as realtors, other than, of course, when you're like geographic farming, your real estate neighborhood, has anybody here done any work prospecting or marketing for investments? I know we're still a pretty green bunch when it comes to investing, but anybody here done any prospecting or marketing to look for properties to invest in? Is that a no from everybody?
It's a no from me.
Not yet.
I'm with you on that. When I must say that I found myself resistant and having a bunch of limited beliefs around this chapter, because I can just feel I was kind of like skimming through it going like, oh God, I'm not going to do this any shit. And that's not, and I've got to say, well, if I'm really serious about this, then this is something that I'm going to want to do. And so, there's lots of ways to do this. Prospecting is like, finding people who either work in ancillary businesses, like contractors are good, plumbers, painters, those kind of people, all of our vendors, right? And then marketing, like we've all seen those, I buy ugly homes for cash, billboards on light posts or street signs or whatever. That's one way you could put ads in the paper. I mean, he goes through that in detail in this chapter. I'm not ready yet because I'm not financially ready to pull the trigger should I find something, and I'm working hard to fix that, but I'm getting close, but I'm not there yet. What did anybody else have a similar experience reading through this chapter, or what, of just finding yourself resistant to like thinking of yourself like, taking out ads and doing things to actually find investment properties?
Definitely, for sure. I feel that way. I feel like you shouldn't have to market to find an investment property, that you're either checking your business resources or Craigslist, auctions.com, courthouse stuff. That's how I feel about it.
I will say, sometimes you do find a property that is flippable on the MLS, but in LA in 2022, that's just so hard to find. So hard to find. I had some investors that flipped a property in North Redondo about 9 months ago, and they made a little bit of money on it, but in the end, it was not that great of an investment for them. So I think if you can find something off market and find a seller who needs to sell, then I think you have a better shot that way. But I also think it's harder now than it used to be back when this book was written, because now, if you're an investor and you come in with an offer that's made for you to make money off of it as an investor, it's not going to be that much different from them going to Open Door or whatever, a wholesaler, and getting that. Not that you still can't find these deals, but just know that that's, I think, more challenging now than it used to be. Because now if you're a home buyer and you want to sell in a hurry, it's way easier to find somebody to pay you cash for that home right away, right?
Yeah.
You guys agree with that?
I do.
Miguel, what do you think about that? You kind of in sync with that? Or Camilla?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's pretty tough to find them on the MLS, especially now.
Right.
Especially now. But it's not that, it just depends on the level of work you're willing to do too. Sometimes they're going to take some effort. I've never looked because I was never prepared to, pull the trigger, sort of like what you were saying.
Yeah. And I will say too that, these things tend to be cyclical. Because I think back to when I was a newer agent, when I was an agent in 2011, there were so many short sales on the market and the short sales were going for like 40 to 50% off of what they would have sold on the market. I mean, it was, you really couldn't go wrong you could flip anything. I mean, you couldn't go wrong. Anywhere you went, you could find a deal in any neighborhood on the MLS. People were begging you to buy their home at a crazy discount. Now that was a very specific market. We may not see something like that again in our lifetimes, but it's not always as hard as it is right now, right? So just know that it's not like we're learning all this stuff in vain, because it's just the opportunities aren't there right now. First of all, you can find them; they're just harder to find. And these things tend to be cyclical, I believe. All right, what are some other cool things we read here? He said together the two categories, networking and working with real estate agents, account for as much. Oh wait, hold on a second. I just remember. Is everybody aware that the Keller Concierge now has a program where they will fund you to flip a property. Fully fund, like you don't have to dip in your own pocket if you want to flip a property. Keller Concierge will do it for you.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew about the program, but I thought I didn't know that.
It's new. This is a third program because you remember they have the fix
Yes.
your house up before you sell it, which is what we usually think of when we think of concierge. Then they introduced the second program, which is buy before you sell. And now they have a third program, which is all about funding your your flip properties. I'm going to contact one of them and see if they'll come on
Yeah.
this call to give us a little lesson in that. Maybe I can get them to come on next week.
Do you
but just
know
know-
how it works? Do you have any idea how it works?
I think I do.
And the
but this was conveyed to me from somebody else. So there's no cost per se. So how it works is you find them the property. So again, this is my guess based on what someone was telling me, trying to explain to me, is you find them the property, and basically you're working on a finder's fee. Like you're not really you're not really part of the actual transaction, but you get whatever. You find them the property, they pull the trigger on it, they flip it. You get to work with them some on that, I believe, on what to do, how to go about it. And then I believe, if I remember correctly, they give you half of the profit and you get the list back when they go to sell it.
That's
So
great.
look, it's not nearly as lucrative as finding your own flip and doing it yourself. But for those of us who don't have pockets and can't do it, at least there's a way where if you find a property that you can flip, you can still make there's still a way to profit off of that. And again, I am just paraphrasing this off of what someone told me. I'm getting this like totally secondhand. So I'm not very familiar with how it works, which is why I want to get someone on here to give us, all the nuts and bolts of it. But it's pretty cool. I mean, just the fact that there's an option now for those of us who, we're not ready to invest just yet. We don't have the cash just yet.
That's pretty fantastic. You have, they go in, they do the work. You're basically a silent partner. That's pretty cool. Good way to get your foot in.
Right
Hey,
on.
Ed,
I know.
I don't know if you remember a while back, but I'm apologize because my reception is kind of hot and cold off and on, but somebody from KW Concierge actually presented a bunch of info at one of the team meetings kind of recently. And they gave a discount code because it's otherwise it's $300 a year for like the stepped up level. But they gave a discount code for KW South Bay for a year free of their services. But they're great. I used them once and it was flawless.
That's super cool. Oh man, that's so cool. That's great knowledge. Thanks for the tip on that, Miguel. And let me see if we can get somebody from there on here to walk us through it. And that'd be a really cool thing to do.
And find that discount code.
Yeah, for real. We'll definitely plaster that all over the face. We'll make sure we get that out there to everybody. By the way, Miguel, if you have that discount code, if you could just put it up on the Facebook group so we've got it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm scanning through here to see what to kind of bring up. The met half of your content.
I was going to ask you, going through this book, since you're just looking at that while you're skimming that over, seems to me a lot is relevant of the material in the book, but it's also dated. So I was wondering everyone's thoughts on some of the dated stuff that we're reading.
So there's definitely some stuff that's dated, like we were just talking about, I would say the overall concepts though, aren't analyzing a property. It's still the same way. The form that we use for analyzing a property is still going to work. It'll work 20 years from now. It'll work because it's the same as it's always been. You're looking at it's just a way of figuring out what are the expenses, what are the incomes, and is it going to pay off? Where I think some of it's, like they're talking about marketing and stuff like that. Like that's not really like that anymore. Like, they're putting billboards up. I'll buy your ugly home for cash. Like it's too saturated now, and especially here in LA.
Yeah.
So I agree that there's definitely some things that are dated. And we'll kind of try to point those out as we go. I don't believe there's any intention currently on the docket to revamp this book and put out a revised version, but I also don't know.
Okay, thank you.
They've been working on a revised version of the MREA, and they've been saying that for like, I don't know, 5 years now.
But,
Um,
but admittedly, we all just said none of us have tried that. So do we
That's
really
true.
know if it's
That's true.
outdated? Because none of us have actually done it.
I know, I'm just
That is
reading it,
true.
I'm like, this will never work.
And you still
But-
see the signs. So there's a reason why you see them,
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
well, especially outside of California, or at least outside of LA, because in other parts of the country, life is not that different in some ways,
Yeah.
you know?
I will say that, as much as you're saying like this is dated and everything, I literally this morning on my way to work saw a sign that says we'll buy ugly houses or whatever
Yeah.
on Hawthorne Boulevard, like over near Del Amo, somewhere southbound, like right there at a stop sign. I was like, son of a gun, there you go. There's someone put that sign up, and clearly they thought it was worth their time. I was like, I wonder if it's someone from our group who
My sign.
So yeah, he's talking about, building up a network of people who are, your core advocates who have, for example, someone who's privy to foreclosures, like an attorney or whatever, might be a great source for properties. There's an example he gives about a lady who works at a bank who has access to properties from the bank that are going to be foreclosed upon or whatever. So we'll skip through here. So he talks about knowing the criteria that you're like, and this is, he talked about that earlier in this chapter, about we should know what we want to invest in, not just be out there just looking at everything. Otherwise, how are you gonna know when you find it? That's part of why we analyze properties here and why we've been kind of looking at things, so that we can kind of, all each one of us for our own selves figure out what do you want to invest in, right? So he talks about making sure you've got your criteria. Whenever anyone gives you a lead on an investment property, make sure you give them a finder's fee.
How much is a finder's fee typically?
I was just about to ask that too. Typically, our typical finder's fee.
I don't know. That's a great question. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I would suspect it varies widely, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
Are we talking finder's fee from an investor who would pass a listing on to us?
I'm gonna call the guy who had that put up that sign that says I buy ugly houses. I was like, yeah, I know somebody's got an ugly house. How much will you give me as a finder's fee?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I've got some people that I could call who could probably give us an idea of how much they're giving. But he's talking about just having a database of people who are positioned so that they can help you find investment properties, and just like we do with our sales business, going through them and sifting through it every once in a while, making calls, prospecting. Then he goes into a lot of marketing, right? He talks about. So I thought this was interesting. So on page 209, he's talking about there's a person who, I'll kind of skim this over here. Somebody approached this agent, Barbara, to ask her to take over 6 properties he owned that were on the verge of foreclosure. He had approached other real estate professionals, but everyone kept passing on it. Barbara thought like an investor and saw an opportunity. She agreed to take over the properties and assume responsibility for their debt and payments by using a simple quitclaim deed. 6 weeks later, Barbara sold the properties for a net profit of $85,000. And although the seller only wanted to avoid foreclosure and asked for no money, Barbara gave him $15,000 in addition to saving his credit. Here was an individual with nowhere else to turn who was helped by a real estate investor who cared enough to help and who understood how to solve people's real estate problems. He won, she won, everyone won, right? It's one of our Keller Williams foundations, win, win or no deal, right? But this is what I thought was really interesting is the next paragraph. He says, Contrary to what some people think, this type of circumstance is not a predator and prey situation. I don't believe in or advocate for dishonesty or deception of any kind to anyone. You want to help, but you're an investor, and by definition, your goal is to remove risk from the transaction. You have to get an appropriate discount or terms on the property, or you can't do the deal. I even encourage you to let the seller know you're an investor and do not plan to live in the property. Right? So, and so you tell the investor, hey, this is what I can offer you. You know, I'm an investor. This is what I can offer you. And then you just leave it up to them, right? And in the end, if they take you up on it, there's a reason why they're doing that and not another option. And, you know, will they end up making less than if they had put the property on the market, right? Or fixed it up and sold it appropriately? Yeah, they're going to make less. But as long as they know that, then you're not trying to mislead them, right? Any comments on that? Because I thought that was interesting.
That's good.
And then he talks just a rule of thumb for marketing is that you should always send your message about being a solution to other people's property problems. For example, you could send a message to out-of-town homeowners, reminding them the problems of managing a property long distance, such as screening renters, managing maintenance contractors, and dealing with routine upkeep. All those things can present challenges to out-of-town owners. If your marketing represents you as someone who can solve this problem, maybe 2 or 3 out of every 100 people you mail to will inquire about your terms. That's when the opportunity to make a deal shows up, right? So again, when we're marketing, you send out a whole lot, you get back a little, but you know, if you do it right, it's worth it, right? So that's all I got on that section. But any ahas? Are you guys all? Who's keeping up with the reading and who's like, you know, just listening on this call? And I'll tell you what, let's go around. Let's see who's kind of. And admit it, I'm just curious.
I'm just listening, although I've read it in bits and pieces in the past. So I'm just listening in. Yes.
How about you, Ray?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, I skimmed through it. I look at some highlights. I look at the table of contents and see what sticks out to me.
Sure.
Sorry, not to switch topics here. I was looking at the website of We Buy Ugly Houses.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what the referral fee was, but it's like they want you to put the property. They dissect everything, criteria of what they're looking for. But they say that they can beat any other offer. They buy as is. Ugly houses. We buy ugly houses. That's their motto. So, by the way, to answer your question about the book, yeah. So, I have not actually read from chapter to chapter.
Sure. How about you, Hope?
Who?
Hope.
Oh,
Where's Hope? Oh, Hope, there you are.
I've read it. Some parts I don't understand, so I wait till I come here for you to
Cool.
talk about it even more.
Sounds good. Tamara, how about you?
I'm reading it, but I'm doing Audible, so it makes it really easy. I'm listening.
That's what I've been doing too. I've been listening.
I love
on my way
it.
to
I
work.
think it's definitely, to you guys who aren't reading it, I would get it on Audible and listen to it because it's really great. I find it very helpful. It changes my mindset, puts me in a different mind frame, if you will. Very helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
How about you, Eric Bailey? You've been reading along, or are you listening?
I'm hit or miss on the reading along, but I try to catch up after Thursday.
Cool. And Miguel, last but not least.
You know, I burned through the Audible. I ran through like half the book on Audible in a few days, and so I'm still kind of it's hashing up all the info that I read before, which is good. But just kind of a quick note on wholesaling. I know a lot of the wholesalers, and their fee can range from 10 grand up to like 150 grand for an assignment fee. It depends on how deep of a discount they get the house for and how much they're able. You know, I heard of a guy who helped his neighbor out, mowed their lawn for a couple of years, and she ended up needing to get rid of it fast. Gave it to him for 150 under market, and she had a nice payday. So yeah, it can vary, and likely depending on the market.
Right on, fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, cool, you guys, thanks for letting me know. All right, so next, let's check out Miguel's property. Hold on, I think I've got it here. Miguel, do you have it on your screen? Do you want to share it on your screen, or you want me to do it on mine?
You know, I'm in my car driving, and
Okay,
if
cool.
yeah, you can pull it
So
up.
let me do this. All right, where do I have that again? Where did I put that? Just under.
The lead generation models. The lead
Give me one second, you guys.
Is that the Audible?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, here we go. Hey, Miguel, was the property that you did no, wait, this is from last, that can't be right. All right. Oh, you posted it on the Facebook group, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I'm there. Hold on, let me just download it. Sorry, guys, I thought I had it on my computer already. Oh, check this out. You went to Brownsville, Texas, right?
Yeah, I gave kind of a summary of the process of how I was going to look for an area, and Brownsville was right in my budget if I had when I have an investing budget.
Cool. Well, this is really cool. So, all right, hold on a second. So first, let me do this. Let's look at Brownsville, Texas on the map. Share my screen. So Brownsville is a city in Cameron County in the US state of Texas. It is on the western Gulf Coast in South Texas, adjacent to the border with Matamoros, Mexico. The city covers 145 square miles and has an estimated population of 183, basically 183,000. So a smaller town. Here's some pictures of the town. Let's take a look.
It's near South Padre Island, which
Yeah, I
is,
was going to say a lot of people go there for a spring break.
yeah, I was gonna say it's a party
Yeah,
town, South Padre
Exactly. Open a convenience liquor store there.
Island.
And one of the top 25 places to live in the United States.
Yeah,
according to
it's nice.
US
I've been
News.
there.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. So it seems like it has a traditional Texas Southwest vibe,
Mhm.
like almost Mexican flavor, right? Like
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. It looks beautiful.
Nice.
I'd be interested, myself personally, I'm always interested to see what the elevation is above sea level, because I believe in the next years that's going to be more and more of an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, if we zoom out, there's where it is, right at the very south end of it almost looks like it's in Mexico,
It does.
but it's right on
Wow.
right there on the very, very southern tip. So yeah, I mean, we're talking, way south of Corpus Christi. I mean, it's as far south as you can go. And you said which part is a spring break destination? South Padre Island?
Yeah.
Huh. Cool. So here's where it's at. So Miguel, do you want to talk about why you chose Texas? What this particular town?
I started with I searched top 25 or best quality of life in the U.S. And so I was looking through
that's
like
cool, yeah.
Boston and average median income, and then average cost per home. And so everything was like 400, 500, 800, and then Brownsville was like 150 to 200,000 for a home. So I said, okay, that's a good start. Check for once I narrowed to Brownsville, I checked the best schools in the area. And then based on that, I went and looked for single family homes that were for sale.
That is really cool. Dude, I'm so glad you shared that. I would never have thought to like go off of like the top 25 places to live and then just go through and find a place that's affordable. But that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. Yeah. And I'm usually the places that they list on those type of lists are places that are growing rapidly. I used to live in Charleston, South Carolina, and it was always like named like the 1 or 2 or 3rd place to live in all of the US for a bunch of years. It was on a roll there. I don't know if it still is these days, but and it was just, I mean, people were moving there like crazy, which made it a great place to invest. So yeah, this is really neat.
Where
So-
was that, Ed? Can you repeat where you said?
So I was in Charleston, South Carolina, which is, I'll show you where that is. I'll show you where that is on a map to see. So here's South Carolina, right? So for those of you who don't remember your geography, you got North Carolina here, South Carolina, and then Charleston is right on the coast, right? So it's a beach town. There's different parts to it, and the average price point now is about probably 400,000, somewhere in there. It's a little higher price than South Carolina, but I also like it because there is a medical university there. There's a college of Charleston, so that it's got some things that I like in places that I invest. One thing I don't like about Charleston, which is why I was asking about Texas, is Charleston. One of the nicknames of that part of South Carolina is called the Low Country. They call it the Low Country because it is literally like 2 feet above sea level all throughout town. Downtown Charleston gets flooding problems on a good day. So, I mean, you know, that's why on one hand, I like it. I liked it as an investor, but then once I was there for a while, I was like, oh man, if sea levels continue to rise, that could be a problem there.
Yeah.
I don't think that Matamoros, or I'm sorry, Brownsville appears to be further inland. And put it this way, I probably would not invest in South Padre Island. I'm very weary of, you know, little, coastal islands like this. I wouldn't invest in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I wouldn't invest in South Florida, or definitely not the Florida Keys. My parents just got out of the Florida Keys. And anyways, just for those reasons, I believe that rising sea levels will have an impact, especially on some of these places that are really low to the ground. And hell, I mean, unless you have a reason, like why you have all of America to choose from, like, you know, why choose someplace that even where that could be a problem, right?
Also, your insurance costs for those areas are double at best, and you can probably attest to that for Florida.
Yeah.
Anywhere near the water, you have that really expensive insurance for homeowners.
Well, you know, it's fun. So Camille brings up a great point. This is all right, we're going a little off topic here, but this is something for you guys to know, right? So FEMA, so in coastal parts, in places that are in flood zones, places on the coast, like on the beach and stuff like that, no one should be able to build homes on the beach. And the only reason why they can is because the government keeps fronting them. They're afraid of all these people who have, you know, millions of dollars invested on the beach, of them losing their money. So FEMA keeps subsidizing and providing the homeowners insurance, because no private homeowners insurance, State Farm, every homeowners insurance company has long pulled out of all of these coastal places. And so the only one left is FEMA. You get an insurance policy through FEMA. So FEMA is like subsidizing, and they're propping up these places that you really wish no one would build homes anymore because they're so susceptible to flooding. And
that's sort of ultimate irony, isn't it?
Isn't
That
it?
FEMA would fund the insurance for the places that ultimately they have to then go clean up. So this is only a government agency would do that.
Yep.
It's totally, but here's what's important for you guys to know is, like, right now, could you buy in like, I had listings like right on the beach on South Carolina, and it literally it was a golf course on the beach, and the golf course, they had to take out the 18th hole because literally it had wiped away in a hurricane. And meanwhile, when I was selling the home, people could buy it and they were going to get insured just fine. through FEMA. I mean, that's a little more expensive. There's some, it's not all quite as easy as I'm making it sound, but just know that at any point, some administration comes in and we're like, okay, we're losing, like, we are dumping billions and billions of dollars into this part of FEMA that's providing for this stuff, and enough's enough. Like, you know, you guys got to stop building in dumb places to build houses. And, you know, but when they do that, people are going to lose a lot of money for any one place that's coastal, that's not protected, because you're not going to be able to get insurance for them anymore. And people aren't going to want to buy them once you can't. I mean, it's fine for somebody who already owns it and they're like, whatever, I'm just going to ride it out. But you know, it will lose money over time because you can't insure it. And should something happen, it'll be a complete loss, right? And and by the way, they probably will not let you rebuild there should all this stuff go down, which is a fear that, you know. But on the other hand, the people who live all on the beach and stuff are very high net worth individuals, which is why they're able to influence the government into not changing any of these policies, right? So, but just know that could change at some point. That's part of why I'm weary of coastal properties like that. So, I mean, it's a little bit of an aside, but just if we're talking about investing, this is something pertinent, I suppose. Anyways, back to Miguel's place here. Miguel, let me ask you this about 2754 Normandy. Oh, wait, hold on, let's do this. While I'm pulling it up on Zillow, did this seem like kind of a typical Brownsville home, or was this like high end or low end? How did this fit into Brownsville?
You know, I checked out the available homes for rent in the area, and it seemed pretty comparable as far as condition, yard size, neighborhood, and I'll do the street view and kind of take a look up and down the street and see the other houses and all that. It's not in top-notch condition, but it's not like it doesn't look like it needs major repairs. Yeah, it seemed comparable. It seemed to fit in pretty well with everything else that was around. Or, you know,
yeah, I'm liking what you're. So, you know, I'm seeing lots of properties here listed in that price point. You know, above that price point too, like some of these. Oh, look at that, $150,000. Well, I guess it's just a lot. Take it back. Still though, that's a nice lot for. I mean, look at this. You can buy some of these homes for, you know, $150,000. Yeah. So let's take a look here at the one.
Goes to show that, man, if you could make it in California, you can make it anywhere in the US.
Exactly.
In
if
terms
you can
of,
survive in California, you can.
yeah, really, I mean, cost of
Yeah.
living and all, I mean,
For sure.
but when you see properties like that, it's like, wow.
Shit, and, you know, like I'm already like thinking in my head, damn, 20% down is $30,000, man. That's so affordable. So even if they required 20% down, you could get like a super awesome rate. And shit, I could almost invest in that right now if I wanted to. I could probably, you know, borrow from family whatever's remainder.
Ray, Ed, you have to make the money here in California in order to invest in the other states. You go to those states, you don't make any money. You don't make the money that you get here and the possibilities that you get here. I know it's a jungle, but I'd rather to stay here and invest in another state.
Was it geographic arbitrage, or where you get the money from a higher area and invest it into a lower area?
I've never heard that term. That makes complete sense though. Yeah. That's funny.
Is that that's an off-market property though, not currently for sale?
That was for sale on Realtor.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay.
So again, the Zestimate on this property, right? I've got the right address. Yeah. Now, Zestimate, we know that they're not exactly super accurate, but it is nice to know that they're saying that the Zestimate is at 170, list price at 155. So you've got some built-in equity right there, assuming that it, you know, and there's enough properties for sale all around this town that you could just find a bunch that you like at one. Like I would go take a flight there, tour about 10 homes, find 5 of them that I like, and just write all of them a full, you know, whatever, a good offer. There's an investor in Carolina who used to do this. He used to write offers to like 20 properties at the same time. And it would say on there, you know, this property is contingent upon blah, blah, blah. basically saying that this is not a final offer yet. We're basically just fishing. It's a fishing expedition. I wonder if I could find that wording that he had in his, we could find something like that if you wanted to. But then you just start writing offers all over the place. Maybe going 10% under market for every one of these, like find 10 that you like, put an offer in on 10 of them, all of which are 10% under list price, and just see who bites. And if none bites, then come back and do 5% under with 10 properties. Just see if you can find a deal out there. There might be somebody willing to let it go. And
I like that shot.
one
I like that.
strategy going.
I like that shotgun approach.
So one of my mentors here in California, Rick Edler, who runs Sotheby's, he used to tell me that every November, not so much right now because the market's been crazy the last few years, but before that, whoever was left on the market in like late November or mid-December, you would just go around and just write low offers on everybody and just see who bite, see who would bite on it. Like you have, and then once they bite, then you worry about figuring out, is the place worth it or whatever. And then sometimes you find an investor at that point. You find the money once you find the property that's where someone's in need. Like I said, it doesn't work right now, but that's something that's typically done on most your average year. Anyways, so let's look at Miguel's analysis here. Miguel's saying buy it for $155. 25% down would be $38,000, $38,750. Amount finance 116, and that's so cool to see. Oh my God, I haven't seen a number low like that in a while. It's like, wow. Interest rate 3.75, that's probably still accurate today. Cost of repairs, say a couple $1,000s to get it ready. It's coat of paint, so a couple other things, right?
Yeah.
Mortgage payment, did you get this from Zillow?
I got my numbers through Realtor.
What's that?
I got my numbers through Realtor.com.
Okay, cool. But somewhere you got, this is like an actual, what you think it would rent for?
Oh, a rentometer.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah,
I went through
fantastic.
there, and then also I checked the other properties available for rent, the other single family homes in the area for rent, and I kind of underestimated it by about 100.
Yeah, super cool. I love it. Vacancy rate 5%, right? So you're even adjusting for vacancy. Property management, we're talking 125 a month, which you can find people who work off a flat fee like that. Leasing costs, we're saying 0, meaning that you're going to be responsible for finding the tenant, but you could do that. That's doable. Maintenance reserves, we're saying $125 a month. Property taxes, is this accurate here, this property taxes?
Accurate as accurate as Realtor is, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, as long as it came from somewhere, as long as it's a good, like, rough estimate.
Yeah.
Property taxes, insurance, 609 is your expenses. So your operating income, you have.
What was, I'm sorry, Ed, to interrupt. What was the rent?
Oh, you know what? Hold on a
using?
second. I'm not sharing my screen right. Hold on. Let me
No,
share the right
It's
screen.
rent-ometer. I think you said rentometer.
Rentometer, yeah. Rentometer.
So I'm sorry, here's Miguel's spreadsheet, which, by the way, this is posted on Facebook if you want to take a look at it. So you're seeing that his income is $1,187 a month. His expenses is $609 a month. And then the net operating income is $578. But remember, you guys, that doesn't include the mortgage payment, which is $538. So on this property, even with a 5% vacancy, he's cash flow positive right from year one. So that's good.
Good job.
You could put down a little more if you wanted to make sure that you had a little more of an income coming in. Maybe put down 30% so that you're sure you've got some cash coming in. But remember that this is year one. Investing in real estate is like a fine wine. It gets better over time, right? So let's take a look at this. Your net cash flow, annual cash flow. Give me a second. Where is my cash return? Here's my cash on cash return. I want can't be right. G4, H4. Income minus H4. Yeah. J4. So how come it's saying, what am I doing wrong here? It's saying $8,500 a year, but on this one, on the front, we're not seeing that. Anyone know what's going on here? Why is this not working?
You know what? I didn't put any of the annual in the annual column that you're on right now. I didn't put any of those numbers in that might be affecting it.
That is probably what's going on here.
And as far as finding a tenant, I budgeted 10% for property management because it's long distance. And I figure if they can manage turnover and tenant screening, tenant finding, it'd be worth paying 10% as opposed to 6.
Say that again.
So the property management fees, I'm looking at 10%, or I'm budgeting 10%, just
Yeah.
because it's long distance, and I'd rather not go through screening and finding tenants for a long distance situation. But yeah, as far as them managing turnover, yeah, I think 10% is, from what I remember, a typical kind of middle range fee for property management.
Hey, Miguel, is there any property management companies out there? Just out of curiosity?
There's got to be. They're everywhere.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke.
I was hoping. Yeah, but you know, I'll look at some websites and there'll be 6% level, 10%, and then the 12% where they'll do like you're totally hands off.
Okay, let me see if that fixed it. It's still not right. Annual net cash flow should be equal to this for year one.
481, yeah.
I'm not sure. So let me make sure this is right. So mortgage payment, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. B25 minus B30. Yeah, okay, so that's. Anyways, I'm not exactly sure where the problem is, but something I don't think is calculating quite right here. So case in point, so just be careful when you're supposed to just fill in the white squares and not touch the yellow ones. All have formulas in them. So try not to. If you do, just see where it's coming from to make sure that you're not, because something may be based on that cell that you're taking out. So just be careful with that. That's probably what's going on here. That should match the front. Let me see if I can, all right, hold on, this is driving me crazy. Let me see if I can try it real quick again. I want annual net cash flow. So it's G4, which is net operating income. That should be 6942. That's not. Okay, so something's off. Where is it? Net rent, annual rent.
It's off by like 1,800.
F4. Annual expenses adjusted for inflation, 7308. Or minus. C35. Anyways, okay. Sorry, guys. Incredibly boring stuff. It just drives me crazy when numbers don't add up. But here's what I will show you is that the income that you make, the cash flow that you're getting from that property, net operating income, right? That's your annual expenses, your annual income minus your annual expenses, which includes your includes the rent payment, right? The mortgage payment. So this is your net cash flow. It increases over time, right? Especially once the loan is paid off, obviously, but even before then, it's already paying off. Because let's think about it. Remember, your rent is going up every year, and the home is increasing in value, but your mortgage payment stays the same, right? Now, again, some of your expenses are also going to go up a little bit over time as well, but not as much as rent is going to go up, right? So you buy this property for 155, and assuming that these appreciation rates are correct, which these are pretty conservative, it's pretty hard not to get this over a 10-year period. You go to sell that property in, 10 years, which is, one second here. Let's say you hold on to it for 10 years. Total return after cost of sale. So when all is said and done, you sell that property in 10 years, you double your you got 117, I guess it's not double, but $117,000. You hold on to it for 20 years. You've made profit after the cost of selling it and putting it on the market and paying realtors and all that. After paying 7% to sell it, you're still making $336,000 of profit. That's what's beautiful. And note this, I'm sure we've pointed this out before, but if you sold it like 6 months later, you would lose money. You would lose money off of the whole process of having gone through that. Even if you could sell it at the, I guess we said the market value is the same as the list price, right? And that's the same price we're paying. Yeah.
Yeah. And does it would it make much of a difference if you take all that cash, whatever cash flow each month and put it to additional principal, per mortgage payment?
You could. That's one way of going, right? So instead of paying the loan off in 30 years, how many years do you have being paid off?
That was
30,
likely,
right?
that was likely 30, but I mean, at this price point, 15 might even make sense for a lot of people too.
Yeah. So and you can always just figure out what the payment would be to pay it off in 15 years and pay it. Like, you don't have to you probably get a better rate if you got a 15-year mortgage out of the gate, but it's so slight that you may want to get a 30-year mortgage, especially because rates are so cheap right now. Pay it at the 30-year rate, but then once it starts to be more cash flow positive and you start having more cash than you need, one way of going about it is to pump it back into that property. What I would recommend is, so get to a place where you've got whatever, $50,000 saved up for a prudent reserve, and then instead of this thing's already making money, the more you pay out, the earlier you pay off your mortgage and all that, the less you're taking advantage of the leverage of the mortgage, right? So instead, I would take that money and just start saving up to buy another property. I mean, that's what most people, that's how you do it. That's how you start snowballing and building up more and more property, right?
Yeah.
And now you got two properties that are doing the same thing for you, and then income's coming in even faster. And now you're just, that's why investing is slow at first and then it gains momentum. That's why, a lot of us on this call are scraping together for that down payment. It seems like an eternity, but once you get in, now you're in the game and you start, and then you just go from there. Now, is Brownville, Texas gonna have the same appreciation rate as, California? Probably doubtful, but it's possible. Anyways, guys, I gotta go because I just realized it's 4:01, but it's time to go. That was fun though. That was cool.
Thank you.
Louis, Miguel, thank you so much for putting that together.
Sure.
That was really cool. Anybody want to take on next week? I need a volunteer for next week. Who wants to analyze a property? It's a tough act to follow because Miguel crushed it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go next week, but someone's gonna have to do it. Come on, so someone pony up.
I'll try.
Hey,
I don't know.
Yay.
Looks so foreign to me, and I don't have that sheet, but I'll do my best.
I will make sure to email you the Excel. If you should, I think you put your email on the Facebook.
did.
I've been so busy, I haven't gotten to
Email
it. Yeah, but I'll email you the spreadsheet that we just used here.
you. Okay. And then Miguel, did you just put those numbers in the formula and they just auto-populated?
That's
Right.
right.
Oh,
Yep, just some of the basics and do it for about 5 or 6 different ones just for practice to get familiar with what it looks like. I mean, just any
God.
properties.
Stop.
Hey, Ed, can you email that to me as well? Somehow I
Thank
lost
you.
track of that form along the
You
way.
might as well email to everybody.
Yes.
All right,
Sorry, when I
Um,
started.
I will try.
guys.
It's posted on the Facebook page. I'll put your emails on on the Facebook page.
Oh, it's on the Facebook page. All right. It's
It
like
is.
one of
Posted
the
on there, but
documents.
I'm gonna repost it because there may be a problem with that file. But
No,
I'll
I
check it
could
out.
download it. It just, my computer would not open it. I don't
Okay.
know why. I don't
All right. All right, guys, I gotta run,
Thank
but
you.
that
Thank
was a
you,
great
Ed.
call. We'll see y'all next week.
Good.
Right.
Thank
See
you.
you guys later.
Thanks, Ed. Good job, Miguel. Good job, Miguel.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Good job.